So ladies and gentlemen, in this episode today, as you can all see, once again, we're going to be talking about Maine because we have some more news making the rounds, and trust me, man, there is a lot to talk about. As most of you guys will remember, the other day I covered the protests that took place in Maine against woke Governor Janet Mills after the refusal to comply with Donald Trump's executive order that is attempting to ban men from competing in women's sports, which also, by the way, gave us this viral face-off between the two where Trump absolutely put her in her place. Now, the response to the video I made has been crazy. I never expected that, so thank you to everyone who supported the video and is now supporting the channel. And I think one thing is also clear as well, judging by the accent. I don't know if it's a giveaway or not, who knows. I don't live in Maine, but I saw the story, I saw the situation, and it just wasn't getting the coverage it deserved, so I thought it was only right to make a video on it, and pushing back against the madness regardless of where it is a top priority with this channel. And you guys know as well, I love America, man. I've been there a few times now. I was there during the election. I want to see that country thrive. So when I see woke activists trying to stop that, you know I'm going to be here making a video. But it is also worth noting, Maine isn't the only state that is refusing to comply with this executive order. We also have Minnesota, I believe, and California. Surprise, surprise. So this has actually led to Pam Bondi sending state AGs a warning to comply with Trump's trans athlete order. Now, if these states continue to refuse to comply and insist on living in the land of delusion, apparently they just love it so much, the Trump administration has said the consequence will be they will lose federal funding. So I have to wait and see what happens with that one. But Maine has definitely caught the most attention for obvious reasons, and as I said at the beginning, we have some more news because the Trump administration has now come out and said that Maine actually broke the federal law by allowing transgender athletes onto teams. So huge news there, and I'll get into that in just a second, but that's not going to be the only thing I'm speaking about in this video because I also came across this article published by the Maine Wire. Man, it's just going to show you how deep this woke agenda allegedly goes. Now, before we get into this one, ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you could, make sure to leave a like rating. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, turn on bell notifications so you never miss a video, and let's get into it. So, as you guys can see here, the New York Times have reported Trump administration says Maine broke the law by allowing transgender athletes on teams. The Trump administration has concluded that Maine is violating federal law by allowing transgender athletes to play on women's teams, the state attorney's general office said on Thursday. President Trump had targeted the state for scrutiny last month, soon after issuing an executive order on February 5th barring transgender athletes from participating in women's sports. A conservative Maine lawmaker drew attention to the state's transgender athletes with a contentious social media post on February 17th. Days later, the president sparred with Governor Janet Mills over the issue at the White House. "See you in court," Miss Mills, a Democrat, told Mr. Trump after he said that she had better comply with his order or he would cut federal funding for Maine. The same day, the Federal Office of Civil Rights announced that it was initiating a review of the Maine Department of Education, including the University of Maine system, based on information that Maine intends to defy this executive order and will continue to allow biological males to compete in women's sports. 4 days later, on February 25th, the Office of Civil Rights notified Ms. Mills and the State Attorney General by email that it had issued a notice of violation against the state's Education Department for failing to comply with Title IX, the civil rights law that prohibits sex discrimination in education programs, including school sports. The notice was first reported on Wednesday by the Bangor Daily News. A spokeswoman for Aaron Frey, the Maine Attorney General, confirmed it on Thursday. The governor had appeared to anticipate the outcome. However, in the statement she issued at the start of the investigation, she said, "I imagine that the outcome of this politically directed investigation is all but predetermined. Mate, you're letting men compete in women's sports. What do you think's going to happen?" In a statement last month, when the federal review was initiated, the governor said that her administration would fight any effort to withhold funding. "If the president attempts to unilaterally deprive Maine school children of the benefit of federal funding," she said in the statement, "my administration and the Attorney General will take all appropriate and necessary legal action to restore that funding and the academic opportunity it provides." She added, "The state of Maine will not be intimidated by the president's threats." This is how far they'll go, by the way, just to make sure men can compete against women. And I can guarantee you, and you always hear me say this, people like this will stand up and say, of course we care about women's rights, women's safety, but we're going to allow men to compete in women's sports, which undermines their rights and their safety. It's almost like they're the most hypocritical party out there, isn't it? Yeah, but this article that was published by the Maine Wire, you are not going to believe what is in this. Maine corporations, once proud progressive donors, tread lightly amid Governor Mills's clash with President Trump. Although Governor Mills appears keen to defend Maine's policies at the risk of losing significant federal funding, the recent national attention on Maine has caused Democratic and left-leaning politicians at the state and national levels, as well as political groups and some Maine businesses, to recalibrate their positions. These changes mirror the national movement by major institutions away from diversity, equity, and delusion policies to merit-based policies, as it should be, and toward political neutrality on culturally divisive issues. Those changes, already underway for more than a year, were greatly accelerated with the inauguration of President Trump and his rapid assertion of executive branch power. Let's get into this insanity, man. The Maine Department of Education, after Trump signed the executive order banning men from competing in women's sports, issued a memo instructing public schools to disregard the Trump administration order requiring the protection of female-only spaces and activities. And these are the people, by the way, that would still sit there and say to you, yes, we care about women's safety, rights, etc. Now they don't. Simultaneously, the Maine Principals Association, the body that governs high school athletics in Maine, said it would still force female athletes to compete against male athletes. Wow. How progressive. Those policies and statements set the stage for the now famous confrontation between Trump and Governor Mills at the White House, in which Mills put Maine's federal funding at risk by declaring she would fight Trump's policies in court and continue to ignore federal law in favor of the MHRA. But, and this is where it gets, boy, long before Americans across the country were exposed to the Maine's radicalism on gender ideology, Maine's Democrat-controlled legislator and Democrat governor had spent 6 years implementing a panoply of far-left policies rooted in transgenderism. Mills allegedly changed Maine care rules to allow taxpayer-funded transgender procedures, including for minors. She signed legislation allowing 16 and 17-year-olds to receive sex change hormone therapy without parental consent. She signed a law last year that permits out-of-state adults to bring minors to the state for gender transition treatments and will confer legal immunity on those adults if the minor's parents object to the process. What? Years earlier, House Speaker Ryan Fecteau, hope I got that right, don't really care, led an effort to ban conversion therapy, and the resulting law practically requires therapists to encourage gender transitions. So we have here a very far left administration advocating for child abuse. How can it not be? Allowing taxpayer-funded transgender procedures, including for minors, they should be nowhere near that stuff. She also signed, again apparently, legislation allowing 16 and 17-year-olds to receive sex change hormone therapy without parental consent. We know the damage those do to kids, to teenagers. I don't know why these people can't just leave the kids alone. Some of the policies the Mills administration and her progressive allies in the legislature have implemented have resulted in truly absurd outcomes. Well, the woke agendas are truly absurd, so it doesn't surprise me. For example, on at least one occasion, Mills's Department of Corrections Commissioner Randall Liberty ordered a 245-pound male prisoner convicted of his parents and family dog to be housed in a women's prison. Oh my gosh. Because that's not dangerous at all. Completely normal. In another case, the Department of Health and Human Services even developed a chest feeding initiative that required a $50,000 state purchase of larger nursing bras for seriously obese birthing parents. Right, so apparently that's what they want to call breastfeeding now, and women who give birth. When you hear anybody using the terms chest feeding and birthing parents, you know where they align instantly. Following the state leaders in Augusta, Maine school administrators have adopted equally radical policies, including policies that infringe on parental rights. In addition to decorating nearly every classroom with ideological symbols of transgender ideology, dozens of school boards have adopted policies designed to conceal information from parents about their kids. You do not have any right to do that. Reports have surfaced alleging that 57 Maine school districts have policies that allow them to withhold information from parents about students undergoing gender transition counseling. What is this, man? According to a whistleblower report from Do No Harm, allegedly Maine's hospitals are providing sex change services to minors and seeing a shocking rise in incidences of among patients receiving so-called gender-affirming care. In one extreme example, a mother discovered that her 13-year-old daughter had been secretly counseled into a gender transition by an LGBTQ public school official worker. I don't even have the words, because if I do use the words, the video is getting taken down. Man, it is disgraceful, shocking to hear that kids are going through this. All because they want to heavily push these woke, dangerous agendas. At the center of all these radical transgender policies has been a network of progressive groups, largely funded by George Soros. Oh yeah. Whenever there is something absolutely backwards, disgraceful, expect to see this man's name and the Arabella Advisors network of funds, but chief among them has been a far-left non-governmental organization known as Equality Maine. While Equality Maine began as a somewhat mainstream pro-Democrat party group aimed at legalizing same-sex marriage in Maine, the organization has transmogrified into a catch-all advocacy group for extreme left-wing policies, including late-term abortion, demonic, and sex change procedures for minors. Disgrace. And here is the executive director of Equality Maine in a video with a nice flag behind them. Let's take a listen.
Hey everybody, it's Gia, Executive Director at Equality Maine, and I wanted to make this short video to connect with you because of what a horrible week it's been. It seems like one executive order after another attacking our community, especially transgender people. I want to reassure you that no executive order changes the law. It doesn't change the Constitution, and it certainly doesn't change your rights here in the state of Maine. Between our local partners and our national partners, we're trying to understand what these orders mean, give you the facts so you understand them, but I also know our national partners are doing their best to block any attempts to make any of these practice or law. Yeah,
it's enough of that crap. I don't want to listen to it anymore. You know where they're heading with it. Following Maine Wire reports detailing Equality Maine's stated legislative goals in the last session of the legislature, a number of companies disappeared from the organization's sponsors list, with some emailing the Maine Wire to claim they did not in fact sponsor the organization and were falsely listed as sponsors on the website. At some point last year, Equality Maine decided to scrub its list of corporate donors from its website completely. I wonder why. The disappearance of the formerly impressive corporate donor list from Equality Maine's website suggests that corporate giving to transgender advocacy groups has gone from a required I don't know, we all know what my pronunciations are like, to a potentially toxic affiliation. Currently, the group does not list any corporate sponsors. As of May 2024, the following businesses were listed as sponsors on Equality Maine's donor page, though the Maine Wire has no evidence to suggest that these businesses in fact financially support the group, and you can see the list of groups there. I'm not going to sit here and read all of them out. The Maine Wire reached out by phone and email to the companies previously listed as sponsors. While many did not respond, and a few held firm in their support for the organization, others appear to have walked back their support, sensing the shift in the culture. You know what's crazy? It took a man getting elected, Trump, for the culture to shift, for people to sit there and go, yeah, you know what, maybe all of this stuff that I just read out isn't great. I don't know what they were smoking beforehand. We all knew it wasn't great. We all know it is dangerous for kids to go through these procedures. But no, these people, these Democrats, want to support that. They want to support kids getting gender-affirming care. If you sit there and you say, nah, kids shouldn't be going through child abuse, men should not be competing in women's sports, because all of it is backwards, they will condemn you. You stand there and you want to stand up for kids and women and making sure that they aren't being harmed or whatever, and they will say, oh no, you can't say that, how dare you, you're transphobic. These people are nuts. Reading all that out, man, it's just shocking to hear about what, according to the Maine Wire, is going on. And I'm sure it's not just in Maine. There are probably progressive states out there doing exactly the same thing. The woke agendas harm society. They destroy society. They affect kids spiritually, mentally, physically. It affects everybody. And for so long, it has just gone on and on and on and on. But yet we are now seeing a culture shift, and that is good to see. But Man, it's going to take a lot of work to get rid of all of this woke crap. But leave your thoughts down below, ladies and gentlemen, on everything you've heard in this video, this article I just read out by the Maine Wire, and again, the Trump administration saying that Maine broke federal law by allowing transgender athletes on teams. I'd like to know. If you have enjoyed, make sure to leave a like rating. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, turn on bell notifications so you never miss a video. Share this video, follow my socials down below in the description. But until next time, it has been your host JD. Have a great day, stay safe, and I'm out. Peace.